thought I would give an update on the Toney situation, largely because I covered on this channel on 2 separate videos regarding a proposed fight against him and charr. Whilst I appreciate that Toney may not be at the forefront of boxing in terms of a competitive sense, he's still a massive figure within the sport, and I thought, to be complete, having mentioned him in 2 earlier videos, I should wrap this one up. I initially did a video saying, got a strong rumour, looks like negotiations are in play, this fight looks like it's going to go ahead. Followed that up when the fight was announced by charr via social networking that this was going ahead. It appears over the last 2 or 3 days that the fight is now off. It sounds like both fighters were happy to agree to the bout. However, the difficulty came down to financial negotiations, and charr was not willing to pay the the money that was being asked for by Toney. Now, Toney obviously fought in Prize Fighter recently. The top price of Prize Fighter is 32k plus a few knockout bonuses of $2,000. So you're probably looking at 38k as the top prize. I believe where Toney came, he'd have got 8k for getting into the semi-finals and 2k for knocking out his opponent in round 1. So he did 2 fights that night for 10k, if my maths is correct, which it may or may not be. So it seems surprising that this fight hasn't gone down on pure financial grounds. You'd think that they'd be able to stretch to 10k with charr's backing and get this fight on those grounds, and it certainly would have added some celebrity appeal to charr's record, which is otherwise littered with journeymans, Klitschko aside. But the fight hasn't happened. Toney has blamed it purely on money and said that charr's team were not willing to put together a serious offer. He blamed charr for announcing the fight too early, said that was completely charr's fault and not his. We'll never know. But whatever happens, it looks like the fight is off. Toney then went on to release a statement via his promoter. And interestingly, his promoter is certainly not in the market to try and save Toney from any future beatings. His promoter seems very much trying to get him in big fights and to make some money, which is perhaps not the best thing given his recent performances. But he went on to say that Toney's a 10-round fighter, not a 3-round fighter. Fair enough. Gavern got the better of him in Prize Fighter, but Toney would have gone on to win if it had been over 10 rounds. Maybe that's true, but what I can say is Toney looked low stamina, low pace. He looked a bit... I know I've had a bit of back and forth with one commenter on a previous video who thought he got better of Gavern, but to me he did not look like a man at the end of that fight who wanted to fight another 7 rounds. But we'll see. His promoters then gone on to say that they want to see Toney in against Tyson, Fury and Chisora. He said that he'd be able to break down Tyson Fury quickly due to his technical ability. Said that he's a far better fighter than Chisora as well. I'd obviously have Chisora and Fury in both of those fights. I think they're a level above what Toney brings to the ring now. I don't see Chisora and Fury getting beaten or getting in a close fight with Gavern, let's put it that way. But regardless of that, there's been these statements made that he wants to get back into these big fights, so he's clearly in the market to make some money and to keep boxing. Clearly the Prize Fighter experience hasn't put him off one bit, but it's now appearing that Chisora's not happening, Fury's not happening, charr certainly isn't happening. It now looks that a fight is due to be announced for the 21st of December between Roy Jones Jr. and James Toney. This is, of course, a rematch of an earlier fight when 2 guys were, on the pound-for-pound list potentially, and Roy Jones won that with a bit in hand. I guess this fight is likely to be a bigger payday for both men. Jones has been in 2 fights recently which he's pulled out of. He's pulled out of a fight for the WBU Cruiserweight title against Dominic Gwynn, and he's pulled out of another fight in Russia. So maybe this has been in the works for a while. Maybe it's something that's been going on behind the scenes for a little bit. But it certainly seems that this fight is due to be announced, and they're looking at doing it on December the 21st. I guess it's a question of who slipped the least. There's also a question that comes up over weight, because obviously Roy Jones was intending to campaign at cruiserweight, whereas James Toney very much a heavyweight these days. So we'd have to see if there'd be some sort of agreed weight limit, or if it would be purely sort of heavyweight contest, no upper limit on it. I don't know how that would work out. In a way, it's a fight that highlights all the wrong things about boxing. Two guys who were once great fighters can't give it up, and now slugging it out into their 40s. In another way, perhaps it is a blessing in disguise, because both of these guys have slipped so much that I don't think they necessarily have the firepower to do as much damage to each other as the likes of Charr or Chisora could do to a Toney. They just may lack the sort of strength now they're getting on a bit to score the brutal knockouts that someone like Derek Chisora or Manuel Charr might have inflicted on Toney, and it's certainly something that no one wants to see. So I thought I'd follow this one through, as I say, because I'd highlighted the story that he was fighting Charr. It looks like Toney, Roy Jones is on. It would make sense because they both pulled out of attractive opportunities against Charr, against Gunn, respectively, and it would make sense that this was something going on behind the scenes as to why they pulled out of those opportunities. But we'll see. Don't want to sort of confirm anything after what's gone on with all the fights being cancelled, but it looks like this one's 99% of the way there. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts on fight. Do you think it should be sanctioned? Who do you think will win? And just generally on what a sad state of affairs this is. But thanks for watching.